Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Angela Brennan and today I'm bringing you Spellbinders Small Die of the Month, September 2024, Autumn Scarecrow. This die set has got quite a few dies in it and it can be a little bit daunting on how you put them together. So the best thing to do is die cut all of them in white and then use a sticky mat, place the dies one by one on the sticky mat and start coloring them. And once you do it for the first time, then you'll get to understand how the dies all come together. And then you can start making the second card, third card, and you'll be on your way. But you need to remember you don't need to use all the dies at the same time. You don't need to put them all into one card. You can use components of it. But I tend to use most of them because I like how the composition looks. You could even use some of those foliage on its own or the scarecrow on its own. I like using a sticky mat, and the sticky mat I have is on my stamp wheel from old to new. I place the little die cuts on it and I use the distress inks that I have to do all of the coloring. I tend to use distress inks for a lot of my coloring of die cuts because I have stored my distress inks really well and it's easy to get to them. I will put a link in the description below to my video on storage of distress inks and distress oxide inks. I think if you store your inks that are easily to get to and easily to put away, the inks as well as the foam pads, then you will use them more often. So as you can see here, I have got all of my distress inks, using it to color or ink the various die cuts, and I like to do some ink blending on the die cuts. So the usual colors for the pumpkins, and I use a variation of oranges, reds, dark orange, all of it, just to give some variation to the colors. Sometimes when the ink dries, it just lightens a little bit, so leave it and see how it goes, and then you can add a little bit of a shadow to it. I think these kind of die sets, it's about just going for it. Don't try and figure it out before you start using it. Start using it, die cutting it, coloring it, and then you will figure out how it all goes together. Because when you look at it one and you see so many dies, you can get a little bit taken aback at the number of dies and how to put it together. So start using it immediately and then you will start seeing how it all comes together. And by the time you've done your first card, you know exactly what each of the dies are meant to do, and you'll go on to make your second, third, fourth, fifth, even sixth card sometimes, because I think it's a lovely die set. And it comes with a sentiment of its own as well. It's got Hello Pumpkin, so it's quite ideal because of all the pumpkins in the set as well. It's quite relevant for the current autumnal theme of pumpkin, Thanksgiving, Halloween, all of it together. I really hope you find this video useful to show you how to assemble this die set. If you do find the video enjoyable, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And when you do subscribe, remember to press that notification bell so you're alerted when new videos are uploaded. I do a lot of Spellbinders Clubkits videos. I'm not exactly on time. I'm a little bit late. As you know, it's already the end of September. I'm still getting all my videos together. Although I'm late, I always get the videos out and I put them all into a playlist. The reason I've started putting all of my Spellbinder Clubkits for each month into a playlist, because I think it's easier for someone to get to the playlist and see all of the relevant Spellbinders Clubkits in one playlist. Because I sometimes don't get to my Spellbinders Clubkits until the month has passed, and then I'm scrambling to see where all of these videos are, all the inspiration or even video tutorials to put these dies together. So I think I've got lots of feedback saying it's helpful and I'm going to continue doing that. But obviously whenever I make cards, I really like to get feedback on what you think of the cards, what went well, what didn't go well. And I'm always open to good feedback or bad feedback. It doesn't matter. You don't have to leave feedback only when you think everything is wonderful. So I'm putting together this scarecrow here, and I do make a bit of a blunder because the first time I put it together, I just wanted to show you, I want to leave it in this video to show the first time you put something together, you can make a mistake and sometimes you have to undo some of it and it doesn't quite go all together. So it doesn't matter. You can trial and error and put them all together. So ideally, it would have been good to put the dungarees on before you put the head of that pumpkin head onto the scarecrow. So you just live and learn. And now I'm going to put the little scarf. The scarf could have done with putting the scarf on before you put the pumpkin head as well. By the time I do the second and third, I know exactly what I'm doing. So you live and learn really with all of these die cuts when you put them together. I've been asked about the card and the glue that I use when I do all these die cuts. I use 300 GSM card. That's about £110 white card, a smooth card. It's set I get on Amazon in the UK. It's a UK brand that I get. But any £110, 100 to £110 white smooth card will be great for ink blending. Or you could use the Strathmore Bristol Smooth Series card. That's ideal as well. And when it comes to the liquid glue, I've used this art glitter glue forever. I like the fact that it dries clear, and I do buy this glue in bulk. As you can see, the one that I'm using, the wrapping around the glue bottle has already come out because I've used that for probably more than 10 years now. But I do buy a big 16-ounce bottle and just top it up every time when it's finished. And I do use that same nozzle that I've used for years. So it lasts for a long time, the applicator and all of it. So it's been ideal for me. And the other invaluable tool when putting all of these die cuts together is that crystal Katana media picker tool that you see on my right on the screen. It's great when you're putting tiny die cuts. So it's just, these are the key tools you need to have when you want to do put these kind of die sets together. I think it's really, really good to have the right tools to put them together. So I'm showing you how I put the Scarecrow, but again, another one together, because this time I'm going to show you how I put all the elements together in the right chronology, if you like. once I've die cut all the dies, colored them, assembled them, it's time to start getting the backgrounds ready to start assembling these cards together. So I'm using a variety of what I think are autumnal colors for a landscape, distress oxide inks, and coloring the base of a card or the card panel for the first card. I use all of the colors that I do like a landscape. So you got your brown ground, your greenery, and your sky. And then I start assembling the inked and assembled die cuts onto the card front. It's just no one formula to do it. So the first card, what I do is I do a bit of a background, and I'm putting the embossing folder of the month, the autumn chevron, as the background, and I put some heavy objects onto it to let it dry, because I put a little bit of water at the back of the card panel. So when I put it through the embossing machine, it doesn't crack. And once it dries straight, I put some foam sheet onto the card front, and I put it onto the front onto the card base, which is an A6 card measuring 14.8 centimeters by 10.5 centimeters. And then I start assembling the card. Firstly, I put the Scarecrow onto the card front, and then I put everything else around it. I do use dimensional tape for the areas that I want it to pop a little bit, and I go on to put all of the other elements of the card. I don't have a particular formula for this, but I just go with it and see what works. So you just got to try and see how you want your assembly to be. Sometimes I think if I try and put all the elements, it can get a little bit busy. So I do that because I like having all of it there, so it goes with the theme. But there's one card I decide to just, instead of putting all the elements in it, I do put a little pop-up inside. In fact, I like it so much I do it on 2 cards. So just hang on and see how it goes, and let me know what you think of these little pop-ups that I put inside the card. I'm not too sure about it. I don't do it very often. I think it's probably only the second or third time I'm doing a pop-up inside the card. But I really like to get your feedback and your thoughts on what you think of these cards, and whether the tutorial for the assembly was good, or maybe I did it too many times because I wanted to get it right myself. And I like the idea of having some patterned paper for the shirt of the Scarecrow. I really value your feedback. So do pop in a few comments, let me know what you think. In the meantime, I'm going to let you see how I do assembly, and I'll catch you again towards the end of the video. card, I do partial embossing with the 3D embossing folder of the month, September 2024 pumpkin patch. What I do is I put it through the embossing machine, but I don't put it all the way through. I just put the card partially through, so it doesn't emboss the entire background. I do it again for the next card, but I do less embossing. So pretty much the same way I've compiled the card here, but I add the additional bats that come with the die set. I forgot about them. They're quite tiny dies and I just forgot about them. And here again, I'm putting a little pop-up, but here the pop-up is just going to be sunflowers. I just add some additional sunflowers. I do get carried away sometimes when I do these die cuts, and I thought I'll just put it as a pop-up, a nice little sunny background or sunny pop-up inside the card when you open the card. There's a couple of circular little dies, and they are meant to be the center of the sunflowers. So I decided to put them on. But before I do that, I find the background or the green behind the pumpkin a little bit too bright. So I'm using a Copic marker to just darken it a little bit. And now I'm going to put the little centers from those die cuts into the mid-center of the sunflower. So I decided to put it gold on gold, just because I didn't want to put any gems inside because it won't close properly. So I just wanted something quite flat. You can use these die cuts, these center die cuts, or you can just put gems if you're putting in the front of the card. Either way, it doesn't really matter as long as the card has got the center, the sunflower's got the center in it. I do like how these cards turned out. Would like to get some feedback. I do like having embossed backgrounds when I do a card compilation. So I've done here, same partial embossing, dry embossing, but I think I pretty much cover it all with the pumpkin, so you can't really see it. So maybe I should have done a bit more embossing. And here you have all of the cards that I've completed. Here are the full complement of all the dies that come in the set, bar the bats. Here I have the bats included as well, with the 3D embossing folder in the background and a little pop-up inside as well. I think I'm going to do quite a bit of pop-ups because I do like how they turned out. Maybe have a simple card front with an interesting pop-up inside. Gives you less space to write your message, but it doesn't matter. You don't really write volumes in your message, isn't it? I don't anyway. And I like the idea of putting some pattern paper on the shirt of the Scarecrow. I think it just adds a little bit of authenticity rather than plain cards all the way. Here are close-up pictures of all the cards that I've done. All the products I've used, I've tried my best to put them in the description below. I really hope you find inspiration with all these cards. And don't forget to check out the playlist where I'll have all the Spellbinders Clubkits for September 2024. Thank you so much for stopping by. Happy crafting, and I'll catch you at my next video. Take care.